Okay, great. Well, a little about me. My name is Roland Benson. I have been in business, believe it or not, 35 years, and I have an advertising agency. So I have the opportunity to work with thousands of business owners every year. And one of the things we've found right now is the pivoting part. But one of the things I did about a year ago was real interesting. Instead of doing my family tree, I did my business family tree. And I found out not only did four of my five brothers own their own businesses that are very successful, but my dad, my grandfather, and great-grandfather all own their own businesses. So I come from a long line of business owners. And so when we get together for family reunions and all that kind of stuff, that's what we talk about, believe it or not, is business. So a very big passion. So my first pivot in my life happened here. This is me at 12 years old. Yes, I didn't have gray hair back then. And my dad had a large construction company. He would get calls all the time at the house, and people needing to leave messages, because back in the 70s, we didn't have, believe it or not, we didn't have cell phones, pagers, even an answer machine. So out of the six boys, I was the oldest, and so I answered the phone. I got a phone one day, and this man said, "I need to leave a very important message for your dad, and he's got to get it before tomorrow morning." And I'm sitting there going, man, this guy doesn't know. I'm dyslexic. I have a lot of learning disabilities. I can't even write my own name. So I had to really pivot at that point, and I had to really think. So the first thing I did is I started drawing pictures. It just came to me, draw these pictures out. So I started drawing pictures of everybody that would call our house to ask my dad to leave, or ask me to leave a message. So I drew these things. I had storyboards, and my dad would come in, and I would sit down with him and say, "Dad, here's what happened. Here's who called. Mr. Forrest called." So this one's Mr. Forrest called. He has to meet you, Dad. And I remember what all my dad's job sites looked like, so I draw them out. And it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. Bring the money you owe him, and we need to bring your tools, so we need to finish this up. So that's how I started doing it. And then my next step was, it became my superpower. And I didn't go to school. I went to one semester of college and then dropped out because it just killed me. So when I started my business as a graphic designer, didn't even know what a graphic designer was, kind of fell into it. I started to think in visions. I started to be able to visualize things like in the storyboard. So when someone asked me a question or I had to do something, I could visualize it and then help them grow their business. So the four things I want to take on today and work with you and in the next 15 minutes or so is winning mindset. I know you hear a lot about that, but I've been on so many calls with clients, and the mindset is killing them right now. Even business owners that have been in business. One of my clients has been in business 75 years, and I talked to him. He's in his late 80s, almost 90 years old, and he is really struggling. And a lot of my really key business people, they're struggling also. So I'm just going to take a second on that, and then we can get into the recession proofing. So that winning mindset is very important. I don't know if you've ever learned how to train a flea, but this is what changed my life, is learning how to train a flea. If you take a bottle and you put fleas in it, so like this bottle right here, if I put fleas in here and I put a lid on those fleas and I clamp it down, the fleas will jump up and whack their head for about 3 days. And after 3 days, they will stop and just jump up right to the edge of the lid. And you can take the lid off, and they will only jump to about right here, and then they'll go down, and they will jump until they die. And if they have babies while they're in here, those babies will jump until they die. So I started seeing that with myself. I'm going to grab something real quick. My brain. I saw my brain, that I stuck it in that jar. Sorry, stuff. I stuck my own brain in that jar, and people told me stuff when I was dyslexic. They said, "You're retarded," because they didn't know what dyslexia was. "You're not going to be able to support a family. You're not going to be able to do this. You can't. So I just tightened that jar lid on so tight. And then as I grew and I got older, I started saying, I don't think those guys are right. I don't think I'm retarded. I don't think that stuff. So I was able to take that lid off, and I was able to take my brain out, just like the fleas couldn't jump out. I was able to jump out and take on that next level of my business. That probably changed my life more than anything, is to learn how to take that mindset and blow it up and get out of that mindset, because you can't afford to have that mindset dragging you down. And every morning, sometimes I have to lay in the bed for 10 minutes and just talk myself through how I'm going to do it and what's going to happen. So this is my wife. One of the big fears she had was heights. She did not like to go heights, but she loved adventure. So she said, "I'm going to go skydiving." I said, "Tammy, here I am putting the lid on. I'm sticking the lid on her, unknowing." I said, "You don't like heights. What do you mean you're going to go skydiving? That's a terrible idea." But she did it, and that was her training ground. That broke the ground to tons of other mind things that opened up for her. this was my biggest thing that I did that changed everything about my business. This is a pivot that changed everything for me. This is a mall in San Antonio, Texas, called North Star Mall. I could not return things. I could not talk to people. My business was suffering from it, because if you can't talk to people and you own a business, you're in bad shape. So I went to North Star Mall. My coach says, I want you to go to the biggest place that you can go to, and I want you to start walking it 2 hours a day for a week and say hi to people. And that's all I want you to do. Remember, you're afraid of people. You can't talk to people. Don't talk to anybody. So for a week, for 2 hours a day, I said, hi, how are you doing? How's it going? And then I came back and I called my coach. I said, okay, I did that. That was stupid. What did you have me do that for? She said, okay, now for the next week, for 2 hours a day, I want you to start asking what time it is. I said, what? I said, okay, I trust you. You haven't ever led me wrong. So I went and I said, what time is it? It's 10:01, it's 10:02, it's 10:03, it's 10:04. I did that for 2 hours. I can tell you from one end of the mall to the other how long it takes to get through there, minute by minute. And then the next thing I did was called the coach back, and she said, okay, now Roland, this is the big one. I want you to go back 2 hours a day for a week and talk to everybody you see. And I said, what? So I stuck toilet paper under my armpits. I went back to the mall and I started going, do you know where Macy's is at? Oh yeah, it's right down there. Okay, thank you. Oh, where did you get that pretzel? That looks delicious. Oh, and then I just started talking to people. And then I found myself 30 minutes later talking to people. So I committed at that point that I'm going to talk to everybody on earth. So every time I get an opportunity to talk to anybody, I go to the grocery store, it takes me 2 hours to shop, even if I'm just going for milk. Because if I haven't talked to that person before, I haven't seen that person before, I go and I go and I go and I talk to them. So that's been an exciting part of my life. I'm going to jump back here for just a second. So whatever's in your mind is what you're taking around with you. So if you go into the office or work like we do daily calls with our team, if I am upset, I am depressed, I think it's going to end, I'm going to reflect that onto my clients and onto my employees, and they're going to feel the same way. And they're going to treat the employees, my clients, the same way. So you can't do that. Next thing to do is let's break our stress test our business. We got to punch holes through our business right now. Look at our cash flow, look at our clients, look at everything that's happening in our business, stress test it, take it apart and see what's not working and what you have to pivot on. What do you have to change right now in your business, in your life, so that you don't have that in your business? The other thing we talk about is putting plans together. So these are plans that you have A, B, and C. So we started out, first thing we did, we canceled our janitorial, we canceled our water deliveries, all that kind of stuff. The next one, we had to start seeing, do we need to take a loan out? Do we need to have money? Thank goodness we haven't got there. And then plan C was, who do we need to let go in the company by stages? So, we have to start with this person, this person, and this person. And if everything falls apart, we're going to have to get freelancers in. So we had a very tight plan on everything. So that's the pivot. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. Right now, 4 weeks has changed everything. So our next move is the thing that matters. So I sat down and I wrote down everything, who I am to my client, and then everything that I have to offer that I'm an expert at over the last 35 years. So let's say Trump comes out tomorrow and says, there is no more websites ever going to be built in the United States. Then I'm going to have to pivot myself and my business, and I'm going to have to come in here and pick something. I'm very good at debt free. I'm very good at all these different things. So I could take and build a course or build something out of this. So you have to know what you're good at if you ever have to pivot. I was eating at Raising Cane's Chicken yesterday, and I noticed that if they had a bad run on chicken or something happened to chicken, they would be out of business because they have no other offer. They niche down so far, they have no other thing to bring to the market. So I put this worksheet together, and I'll send it over to Don, and they can put it up. But this goes through and really talks about what problems do you solve for your clients. So that's a big thing, is to find your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? What is the problem you solve? What keeps them up at night? And then you step into how do you solve that problem? Because they'll pay you more for the problems you solve than the problems you don't. Right now, there are so many different problems. There's more problems in the world than there's ever been before. So there's more opportunities in entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are the ones that the government's not going to solve, but entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to solve the world's problems and our clients' problems. Because when this is going to end, and if it ends in 2 weeks, a month, hopefully no longer than that, those people are going to be ready to come back out and start buying it. And we as business owners and we as entrepreneurs, we need to be ready to step out and grab that and help them out. So this kind of shows you how I set the sheet up for myself. I've wound it down to, I work with clients from small businesses, from startups to 500 employees. And then these are the things that were before the crisis that we worked on. And these are the things, so we have some of them on hold. And these are the things we're doing afterwards, that we're really working with pay-per-click, email, things that we can get a hold of our clients now. And we're working with our clients to solve those problems. So it's been very exciting to see, and very exciting to see some of our clients pivoting. Got a call yesterday from a client, and they just pivoted their whole business. So I started looking online. I said, what other businesses have pivoted out there? And Jimmy John's, what they've done is they've started, I'm going to pull my list up here real quick. I wrote down a whole bunch of them. Jimmy John's has started delivering bread for $2. So if you order a sandwich, you can throw a couple loaves of bread on there. New York and stuff where they can't get out, they've been doing really well like that. In my little town that I live outside of San Antonio, what they've been doing is they have a spin class, and that guy was just sitting there with his doors closed. He started cleaning the bikes up and taking them to each of his students' homes and renting them to them. So instead of them sitting there, he's renting them, and he's doing online courses with them, putting them up on the screen and keeping them motivated. A hair salon my wife goes to, they know that she's getting older, and so she's got a little gray hair, and so they put together a kit with her color that she gets, a manual on how to do it and everything, and she paid $29 for that, delivered to her home. She can color her own hair that way until she can get back into the salon. So I thought that was very cool. There's a advertising agent, a travel agency that's now selling discounted travel for when this is over. So if you want to go to Hawaii, it's a great time to buy a package. So you pay her up front, and then you may use it in a year from now, but you're saving maybe 25, 30%. So that's another great way to do it. And it just goes on and on of things that we can do. So that's the thing. You need to find what are keeping your clients up at night. Why can't they sleep? And then find a way to solve it. That's our job as entrepreneurs. We need to step out and do that. The other thing is get online. It's not time to go dark. It's not time to sit back and watch Netflix. It's not time to just binge and feel bad. We need to get up. I get up every morning, shower, I get dressed in the clothes that I'd wear to work so that I'm not laying around in my pajamas. And even if I'm working, I don't feel, I feel much more motivated stuff. And I sit there and call my clients and do a lot of Zoom calls now. The only thing you don't have to do is wear pants with Zoom. So that's awesome. But so what I've been doing for my thing, since I have 2 more minutes left, is I really jump in and I post every day on Facebook and I post every day on LinkedIn. Those are the 2 places that I've chose as a business owner to advertise and to work. Not advertise, but I'm giving back. So this is a time not to sell, but to serve as much as you can. But if you need to sell, because it's going to be important that you're in business and you're employing your people at the end. So just thank you so much for allowing me to share this message. If I can help in any way, let Don know, and I'll be glad to jump into anything that I can do, or Don or Jim, and just be out there. Make 15 calls a day. Call everyone. We've called every one of our clients. Just call, make sure they're all right. Because one thing we do is we have the same thing in common. Sometimes you had to call a client and figure out what to talk about. You have something to talk about. How are you doing? How's the health of your kids? Is everybody all right? How's your business doing? So we're gathered together, all together. So it's something that we can get together and help and make sure our neighbors are good and make sure other business owners. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the other 2 speakers that are coming up. They're going to be awesome, and it's so much to learn right now, and just take the time to learn. So thanks, Jim.